All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Coffee Q&A. It is Friday, April 26th. I'm your host, Jay. Every weekday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, we do this coffee live stream here on the Onocoffee channel. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you're doing well. And today's question, we're going to do questions back to questions. Today's question comes from a lady by the name of Paula Bond, and she's asking, I have yet to get the gas release action I see on just about every video. So I guess she watches a lot of videos online, and the gas release action, I'm guessing she's talking about the blooming that she's seeing. I cannot figure out why. My bubbling beauty is minimal at best. Is there something I'm doing wrong, or is it the coffee? Well, Paula, to be honest, it's probably a bit of both. You and the coffee. Mom, good morning, man. Good to see you. And Craig, how are you doing? Welcome back to the show. So it's always. I think when you have issues, it's always two things. Always some kind of external force, and typically you, the brewer, because you're probably making some mistake or have some blind spot in your knowledge base or something like that. And so basically, I think what Paul is asking is that why am I not getting bloom? Probably because the coffee is older. And as regular viewers to the channel know, that coffee has a cycle. So once it's roasted, it starts to emit CO2 gas as a byproduct of the roasting process. That CO2 gas occludes the flavor of the coffee and also contributes a lot of this blooming, this bubbling that she's talking about. Now, at some point in time, most of that CO2 gas will have dissipated, and that blooming, that bubbling, will no longer happen. So we use older coffee, we will not find that to be the case. And Craig says, it's the coffee. Yes, absolutely. Wilson Maloles, welcome to the show. Good morning to you. Keone, good evening there in Thailand. And roast level 2, absolutely. Roast level is going to have some impact. I think that, but freshness is going to have the greater impact on that. And so I guess we can explore a little bit of that today. So let me see here. What do we have that's on the older side, right? But does that mean necessarily that because it's not happening, the coffee is no good? I don't think so. Let me grab this coffee here. We've had this before. This is a really pretty coffee called the SL34 Champagne Natural from Paradise Coffee Roasters in Hilo, Hawaii. This is a friend of mine, Mesa, another crazy guy who's really into coffee, really making beautiful stuff. This is a coffee that, was rated by Kenneth Davids, 95 points. So very highly regarded from the Uluvehi Coffee Farm. It's a lighter roast, and it's supposed to have notes of banana, coconut, and black cherry. And as you can see, this was roasted October 28th, 2022. So, I'm not futting around here. We're going to go for some seriously older coffee. But this is a coffee that, and this is coffee that I'm keeping around just like this. Really, it's just sitting here. It's cut open. It's folded over, but it's probably just sitting like this most of the time. It's not, there's still, even that puffy moment, there were some aromatics that escaped. Oh, that's so interesting. See, this is the thing. So when you have really well sorted, well processed, well roasted, when you get coffee that's been done very well through all the processes, through all the steps, even a year, well over a year and a half later, almost a year and a half later, it can still be quite surprising. Michael, good morning to you. Michael, I was not able to make it to the post office, but I was looking up online to see what they could tell me about your shipment. My apologies. I will double check. I will be going to the post office now, today for sure, to make sure that happens. Okay, so we're going to try brewing this and see how it goes. We're going to use our normal brew recipe, 24 grams. A little too much. Will we have enough for the next brew? I don't know. And so there it is. Gosh, there is a really nice, winey kind of fruity fragrance coming off the chocolatey, like chocolates and cherries or chocolates and strawberries from an 18-month-old coffee. That's kind of crazy. All right, so let's get our grinder. I'm not short of coffee. Okay, good. But my apologies. I don't know what's taking so long. It seems like every blue moon I'll have this issue where the postal service has some kind of problem and it just doesn't move. It hasn't moved, like you noted, it hasn't moved from its current position for like the last 3 weeks. That's very irritating to me. All right, let's turn this back on. We're gonna do some grinding here. We're at a medium grind, so that's good. Oh, let's go over here, push this in the way. All right, let's turn it on. There's some really interesting fragrances coming off the coffee as it's been grinding. I think that's kind of good. And Craig says that any roast that crashes during cupping forms no crust in the bowl, like Tim Wendelbo's filter light or lighter is, or like Tim Wendelbo's filter light or lighter isn't going to bloom anything like. I mean, I think you're right about that. Although I haven't brewed with coffee with like Tim Wendelbo or lighter coffee very much. So I really don't know much about that actually. All right, so here's our coffee. Let's get our setup going on. We're going to go back to our favorite origami brewer. I've been enjoying this more, and of course, we're going to stay with more of our origami filters. We're probably 6 filters into it, so there's 94 filters left, which still I'm like, oh my gosh, when I run out, what am I going to do? I'm going to fold this over just so that it lies flat. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to turn on the burner to heat up the water. So that'll take a couple more minutes. We're going to put this in here. Set that in there nicely. As you can see, it's got a nice kind of like coloration to it. Yeah, that's pretty accurate to what I see in front of me. All right, there we are. Now we just have to wait for the water to boil. There it is, the SL 34 Champagne Natural from Kona, a place called Uluvehi Coffee Farms, and roasted by Paradise Roaster and processed by Miguel Meza. I'm sure Miguel processed this himself. So any plans for the weekend? I've got, what am I doing for this weekend? There's actually, if you're in the Baltimore area, there's actually a cupping going on this afternoon at Ceremony Coffee Roasters. A friend of mine, Ashley Whalen, who's the green buyer for Ceremony, she has scheduled an event today from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. at their Park Avenue location where they are having Vava importers or exporters from Kenya, and they're going to be talking about Kenya coffees, talking about their programs, and tasting coffee. So I'm going to head down there, I think, and check it out and see what that's all about. But it should be kind of a nice time. And then what else is happening this weekend? Anything happening? There's something else happening. Oh, my aunt's having my uncle is having a big birthday celebration. So we're doing that. And then heading to Boston. Next week we'll be in Boston, Massachusetts. So we'll be doing some live streams from there. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to turn out. I have to go there for family reasons. So I'm not sure how much time I'll have available, but we're going to try to keep our normal schedule nonetheless. Craig says, some like Patrick Rolfe at April even say blooming is to be discouraged, but his coffee is very light. Oh, I just met Patrick Well, not really. I just saw him. He was when I was in Manila over the summer in June for the Philippine. Well, I just happened to be there at the same time the Philippine Coffee Festival was happening. So they were like, come down and join us. And I was like, all right, come down. And one of my friends, she was like, that's Patrick. I was like, who are you talking about? She was all excited. She's like, that's Patrick from Copenhagen or wherever he's from. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm sorry, I totally didn't know who he was. And she said, he's the guy from April. And I was like, April is it's a coffee roaster. Okay. He's famous. He's like a champion. Sorry. I didn't know those things. Despite the fact that I've been very involved in competitions over the last 15 years, I don't really pay that close attention to them. Like, I just like, if they do well, they win, that's fantastic. But I'm not one of those people that reads the stats and like learns who all the different people. If I'm overseeing your country, I'll know who you are. If you're in another country that I'm not a part of, I don't really know. I'm really bad at that. But it seemed like a nice guy. He kind of looked like Jesus, long dark hair, beard. I was like, oh, he's kind of got the Christ look going on. Right on. And Keone says, you should visit the Peabody Museum when in Boston. I will try to do that. The Peabody Museum. I have not. I don't think I've ever been there. A lot of times I go to, when I do get to Boston, it's typically for work. Like we did the SCA show the last couple of years that a couple of years we're there. And then it's usually to visit family. So I don't normally have a lot of time to go run around. Maybe I'll try to get around. But we're actually probably staying at my aunt has a place out in an area called Hull, which is kind of on the Cape, or not on the Cape. Maybe it's just, but it's like an hour outside downtown. So it's a beach town. It's kind of pretty, my aunt's a little bit older, so it's a little bit more of a retirement area. So it's kind of like, we're just kind of chilling. I'm just chilling around there like, hey, it's all good. It's all good. Mark's with us. What's going on, Mark? How are you? We're just waiting for water to boil. We're talking about a viewer's question that was asking, like, I'm not getting bubbling. Is there something wrong with me or the coffee? I was like, well, it's both. You have to realize that you need to buy fresher coffee if you really want the bubbling. But the bubbling to me is not necessarily that important because you can use older coffee as long as it's been well sorted. It should be fairly well performing. Like this coffee that we're brewing now, that we're waiting for the water, is from Paradise Roasters. It's a SL34 Champagne Natural that was roasted in October 28, 2022. So 18 months ago, but still getting really interesting aromatics or fragrances coming off the dry coffee. Kind of like a little bit chocolatey, cherry, strawberry. Like even when I was moving the bag, it flapped around and a little bit of the fragrance came out. And I was like, interesting. Keone says that Peabody Essex, not Peabody Harvard. Oh, gotcha. Peabody Essex, not Peabody. I didn't know there were so many Peabodys. Here in Baltimore, we have the Peabody Conservatory, which is a music conservatory that's now controlled by Hopkins University. I didn't know there was more Peabodys. What I would like to try to do is, if I have the time, I would like to go visit that new George Howell coffee shop that they have in some hotel downtown. But it's in downtown, and going downtown in any city is always kind of a pain. You have to find parking, you have to do all this stuff, you have to battle traffic, you have to go at the right times. Like, I don't know. And Mark says, I just brewed fresh coffee and it didn't have a lot of outgassing. Yeah, I like Craig was saying earlier, if you're getting really light roasted coffee, typically there's not that much outgassing. Like I said, I don't know that personally because I don't really deal with a lot of light roasted coffees. But I wonder, like the ultimate in light roast would be the Arabic coffee, right? You bring that to about 165 Celsius, and it's super. Do I have any available at the moment? It's super light, like super tan looking. I don't think that does blooming. I don't know. We'll have to play with that more. I think we'll have to try that out. All right, so we've got some boiling going on here. We've been waiting so long, the scale has turned off. Craig says there's a subway rapid transit. Yeah, but when you're driving in from the suburbs, if I'm going to drive in halfway, I might as well drive the whole way. Oop, start that timer. You know what I'm saying? I would like to go to the Boston Tea Party Museum. I went there last time and ended up getting some of this Kongu tea that turned out that I really love. It's a Chinese tea that's not very popular nowadays, but was very popular in the colonial era, evidently. And at the Boston Tea Party Museum, they have a little cafe place where they've got all these urns of different teas of that era that were the ones that were throwing off the boats. And you can try them all. And I just went down and I tried them all. And I found that this Kongu was one that I really, really enjoyed. And I was like, man, I need to get more of this. There is a part of me that wants to run down there and grab another. I mean, I could order online. I just haven't done that. But it's really difficult to get to this place because it's in the middle of a bridge. And they have it, and then you have to park somewhere. And it's tourist heaven there, tourist hell, whatever you want to call it. But another place that I enjoy going to is Barismo. Those guys are also a little bit crazy. Really focused on their quality. One place I would like to go is a place called Windsor Dim Sum. There's in Chinatown we found a place a few years back called Windsor Dim Sum. You go there. It's not a dim sum like cart place. You go there, they give you a menu, you order your dim sum, and they make it to order. It's really delicious. It was some of the best dim sum I've had. I was like, ooh, we need to do this more. All right, we're 300. Oh, I'm going too fast. See, I'm babbling, trying to keep with the flow, and now we're 298 and only 2 minutes. One of these days, I'm going to get this brewing thing correctly. We're going to go to 350. All right, that's good. That's good. There's our brew. All right, 3 minutes. All right, guess it's gonna have to work. That's gonna have to work. That fruitiness, that it's a little bit on the pungent side, I would say, a little bit more like astringent on the aroma. All right, let's have a look at our elixir here. Nice and clear. I don't think now that I think back upon it, I don't think the siphon was this clear over the last couple of days. I think maybe it's time to replace that cloth filter that's on that siphon. I think it's seen its better days. So we got this nice, really stronger cherry, strawberry, a little bit of like milk chocolate. Oof. It's definitely on the lighter side, so it's got a little bit of a brightness, clean brightness to it. Oh yeah, that milk chocolate is definitely very apparent. So it's really kind of like one of those like cherry cordials. right? That chocolate covered cherry cordial. If you imagine chocolate covered cherry cordial that has milk chocolate instead of dark chocolate, that's kind of what it's delivering. Keone says that the witch trial memorial. Gosh, I need to learn how to read English. The witch trial, the witch trial memorial in Salem is interesting. Has stone seats representing the people who were found guilty of being witches and killed. Ooh, I went in the winter. The snow did not stick to the seat. Oh, it's because it doesn't stick where people are still sitting. Wow, that's a little bit freaky. I wonder. That would be kind of cool to check out. There, you actually, I think in Salem, this is years ago now. I never got to make it. There used to be a Hawaiian restaurant out there back before like the Hawaiian barbecue places started coming around the country. But I was just never able to make. I just never get out. I just never get out. You know, I'm when it comes to tourism, I'm really a bad tourist. Like I'll go to cities and just kind of be there and not see much of any of the things that everybody else sees. Like I remember, like my first like 2 or 3 trips to Paris. I stayed at the same hotel every time because I found this hotel that I really liked. A little place called the Tour Eiffel on the Rue Amélie in Paris 7th district, which is really, really close to the Eiffel Tower. Like 5 blocks close. Like I can totally see it from one of the rooms. It's right there. It's literally you go up to you go out of the hotel, turn right, go up to the Rue de Saint Dominique, turn left, go 5 blocks over, and you're at the Eiffel Tower. For 2 or 3 trips, I never went. I just never made it there. I was like, I'll go check it out. And the only time, finally the time that I went, and really the truth of the matter is the only reason that I went was because I brought my girlfriend at the time with me, and she was like, "We have to go to the Eiffel Tower." And I was like, "Do we?" She was like, "Yeah." All right, I'll go. And so we went, and I had a nice time. It was really nice. But it's one of those things like if you remember, the Eiffel Tower has 4 feet, 4 legs. There had just been a downpour, so a lot of people had dispersed. But as we got there wasn't much of a line, but there was a line for one of the legs, and I was like, "Oh God, I don't want the line. Let's go to that other one." But I wasn't reading the French. I wasn't reading the signage. Just like, oh, there's an entrance. Let's go. We paid whatever little money, 2-3 euros that we had to pay to get in, and then we start climbing the stairs, and then I realized about halfway up the leg, I was like, "Oh man, this is the entrance for the climbers." Had we waited in line, we would just had the elevator that took us all the way up. And I was like, ah. So we actually climbed to the first level. And then I was like, okay, we're going to get the elevator. I was like, I can't do this. I had the same thing happen my first trip to Paris. I wanted to go see Montmartre, right? So you go out there and I take the subway, go to the Abesses station. And again, you get out of the train at Abesses and you're like, oh, there's some elevators. And there's all the people are waiting for these elevators. And I'm like, what's going on here? Why is there so many people? I was like, I like to take the elevator because I'm lazy, right? And then I was like, there's so many people, forget it. I'm just walking the stairs. Because, at a subway station, like in New York City, you just kind of walk up the stairs and you're done. Like you don't necessarily have to take the elevator. Even though I've been walking a lot, well, I start taking the stairs. And if you've ever been to the Abesses station, this is the deepest station in Paris, right? Because you're in Montmartre. Montmartre is kind of like on this hillside. And at the top of Montmartre is the CQA, which is the highest point in all of Paris. When you go there, it's amazing. You look out, oh, amazing. But the subway is still at the same grade level as everything else in the subway system, right? So it's 300 meters or something like that down from the surface street level. That's why there's elevators. That's why there's massive elevators and all these people are waiting. But I didn't know that. It was my first time to Paris. I'm just like, I'm like, I was like, oh my gosh, this is craziness. And so then it wasn't until later that I found it. And then later that same day, I'm walking around Montmartre. I went to look for the cafe that Amelie worked at. And then I was like, I should go visit the CQA. And I'm looking at, I had a map and I was like, okay, there's a map, there's some stairs, this is the pathway. So I'm walking down the street, turn left, right? And there's a big stairs. If you've ever seen John Wick 4, remember John Wick 4, they're in Paris and they're fighting on these big stairs that are falling down, these big stairs. Well, those are the stairs, right? Those are just a little bit west of the CQA. And it's lightly raining and I'm climbing these stairs. I got my rain jacket on. I'm sweating profusely. And I'm thinking, man, this is miserable, right? Because I know there's a way to do it from the front where you go back and forth. But I was thinking, man, if there's some kind of tram, well, I'm almost at the top, and I'm thinking, if there's some kind of tram, I'm going to be pissed because I'm like sweating bullets now. I'm like sweating, exhausted. I've already walked up Abysses. Now I have to walk up this other thing to the top of the CQA. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the worst trip ever, right? And of course, I get to the very top. Finally made it. Turn right to go to the CQA. Just on the other side of the trees, there is a funicular. And I was like, ah. I was like, oh, this is terrible, terrible. But if you ever go to Paris, go to the CQA, the view from the church is amazing. It's like, wow, it's all of Paris at your feet. And the one thing I noticed, I've been there twice. When you're standing there and you look out, you're looking out of the city down towards there's a carnival ride down there, like the whatever that thing is. But you look to your left, and there's this apartment building, this 4-story apartment building that's shaped like a wedge. And all I can do is look at that apartment building and think to myself, who is the guy that owns the top 4th floor wedge apartment? Because it's a wedge apartment, right? So he's got this incredible view of all of Paris below him. And I'm like, who is that dude? And like, what does he do to be able to afford that place? Because that is it's got to be one of the most dopest places in the world. Probably wildly expensive. All right, so let's see how our coffee's doing. Oh, actually, gosh, really, really nice, juicy, fruity. So why are we drinking this coffee, this 18-month-old coffee? Just because your coffee may not be bubbly, as Paula was asking, if it's well sourced, it can still be very, very enjoyable. Months, year later. And if you keep it frozen, it should be even better. And actually, here's the thing. So with frozen coffee, I believe, I haven't really tested this per se, but I think that if you freeze the coffee in a stage where it is blooming, I believe it will continue to bloom when you thaw it. Like you will have. Is that correct? What do you guys think? Maybe that's not scientifically sound. Like, I don't think you can freeze CO2 in that manner because it's just not cold enough. You don't have enough pressure to hold the CO2, right? If you have CO2 canisters, it's under pressure. That's why it's liquid. I don't know. Somebody that knows more about those things should definitely let me know that I'm wrong. And Craig says, I drank the vodka from a year ago this morning, and it blooms. It's certainly not lightly roasted coffee, is it? Oh. There was no blooming with this, as we saw. All right, well, I don't know what else to tell you. Back again tomorrow. I've got a mainline video dropping tomorrow. I wasn't sure I was going to have this ready, but so during the trade show, last year's trade show, we were there, and my buddy Matt and I went, and we were talking to the Malconic distributors, the place called Black Rabbit Service in Tennessee, I think they are. And last year they were like, yeah, we're selling our Malconic grinders for 45% off. We're like, what, 40? Did you say 45% off? And so Matt bought a few. And this year, Matt wasn't able to go. So he's like, hey, man, go check out those guys and let me know. I was like, all right. So I wanted to go talk to them. And they were like, oh, no, we don't. I said, what's the deal this year? Like 25%. I was like, 25%? What happened to the 45%? That's the deal we want. And he's like, well, we had, evidently they had like a really heavy surplus of equipment last year. So they needed to blow it out. This year, their surplus isn't that heavy. So they don't need to blow it out as much. However, 25% off Black Rabbit service. 25% off Malconi grinders. It was supposed to be just a show special. They have extended it to the end of the month. So if you want to get a grinder from Malconi, this is a good time to buy one. So what we did, we got 3 grinders, the X54, the E65, and the E80S. So 3 different types of grinders. And if you're familiar with the X54 is a smaller consumer-focused grinder for the home user that can go from espresso to pour over or type any kind of brewing. In between, it's got specialized burrs that'll do that, and might be worth your while. We're talking like, I don't know what the MSRP is, but I think we're talking like somewhere in the range of $400 to $500 for the grinder. And this video, you don't have to buy it today, but if you wait till tomorrow, you'll get to see we're pulling shots. We're unboxing them and pulling shots on all 3 grinders just to see how they are. They're super easy to program, super easy to use, and the results are quite nice. Like it's just a quick overview video. It's about 28 minutes long, but you'll see us pulling shots and kind of evaluating just the shot pulling and how easy it is to get some results out of the grinder straight fresh out of the box with brand new burrs. So it might be interesting for you. But there will be, so yeah, that's pretty much it. So next week, back again on Monday, maybe. I'll put up a notice for that, but probably we'll try to keep our normal schedule. But we probably will not be able to do Thursday, Friday, because I have to buy my ticket still, but I'm supposed to be in Los Angeles next weekend for memorial service. So that's going to take a little bit of time. Keone says, the nice thing is I really don't need any more. Yeah. Keone sent me a photo of his coffee setup. Yeah, you don't need any more. You probably don't need anything else. Like you've got a great setup. I was like, whoa, what's going on with that guy? All right. Well, thank you very much for tuning in. Great to see all of you guys. Thank you very much. I'll be back again. Hope you have a great weekend. Let me know what you did for the weekend when we get back together on Monday. Mom, good to see you as well. All right. So until next time, have a great one.